Today, we're going to talk about Chapter 8. And Chapter 8 is dealing with perfect competition. And that's why today I am at the mall today. So, introduction to perfect competition. Let me read to you the Bring It Home. Dime a dozen. When you were younger, did you babysit, deliver papers, or mow the lawn for money? If so, you faced stiff competition from many other competitors who offered identical services. There was nothing to stop others from also offering their services. All of you charged the going rate. If you tried to charge more, your customers would simply buy from someone else. These conditions are very similar to the conditions that agricultural growers face. Growing a crop may be more difficult to start than a babysitting or lawn mowing service. But growers face the same fierce competition. In the grand scale of world agriculture, farmers face competition from thousands of others because they sell an identical product. After all, winter wheat is winter wheat. But if they find it hard to make money with that crop, it is relatively easy for farmers to leave the marketplace for another crop. In this case, they do not sell the family farm, they switch crops, or at least if they're doing row crops, they can do that. Um, it's a little bit more difficult around here, like we have a lot of almond trees, and they actually are ripping those out now to put other things in. But still, you can do that. You can switch what you're going to grow. Take the case of in fact, that's happening right now. Del Monte, the Del Monte plant. I guess they closed one of the big Del Monte plants. And so a lot of the peach growers, they're having to rip out their peaches and put in something else. Take the case of the upper Midwest region of the United States. For many generations, the area was called King Wheat. According to the United States Department of Agriculture National Agriculture Statistics Service, statistics by state, in 1997, 11.6 million acres of wheat and 780,000 acres of corn were planted in North Dakota. In the intervening 25 or so years, has the mix of crops changed? Since it's relatively easy to switch crops, did farmers change what they planted in response to changes in relative crop prices? We'll find out more at the chapter's end. In the meantime, let's consider the topic of this chapter, the perfectly competitive market. This is a market which entry and exit are relatively easy and competitors are a dime a dozen. So we know that most businesses, they face two different realities. One is required to buy, no one is required to buy their products, and even customers who might want those products may buy from other businesses instead. Firms that operate in perfect competitive markets face this reality. So no one's forcing anybody to buy products from a particular business. And so we know that. And that's how it is in a perfectly competitive market. In this chapter, we will learn how such firms make decisions about how much to produce, how much profit they make, whether to stay in business or not, and many others. Industries differ from one another in terms of how many sellers there are in a specific market, how easy or difficult it is for a new firm to enter, and the types of products that they sell. Economists refer to this as the industry's market structure. In this chapter, we will focus on perfect competition. However, in other chapters, we'll focus on monopoly and monopolistic competition and oligopoly. And we'll talk about that later on in the coming weeks. So let me go ahead and share our screen. So again, this is chapter 8, perfect competition. And again, this will be broken down into four parts. The first part will be dealing with perfect competition and why it matters. The second part will be how perfectly competitive firms make output decisions, and then entry and exit decisions in the long run, and then finally, efficiency in perfectly competitive markets. And again, we talked about the farmers and how that works. All right. So again, the market structure, as we already have mentioned, is the conditions in an industry, such as the number of sellers, how easy or difficult it is for new firms to enter, and the type of products that are sold. And we said that perfect competition is when each firm faces many competitors that sell the identical products. And there are four criteria. So many firms produce identical products. Many buyers and many sellers are available. Sellers and buyers have all relevant information to make rational decisions, and firms can enter and leave the market without any restrictions. And a perfectly competitive market is also known as a price taker. And a price taker is a firm that is in a perfectly competitive market that must take the prevailing market price as given. So if a firm in a perfectly competitive market raises the price of its products by so much as a penny, it will lose all of its sales to competitors. When a wheat grower, as we discussed in the Bring It Home feature, wants to know the going price of wheat, they have to check on the computer or listen to the radio. Supply and demand in the entire market solely determine the market price, not the individual farmer. A perfectly competitive firm must be a very small player in the overall market so that it can increase or decrease output when without noticeably affecting the overall quantity supplied or the price of the market. And they mention here about uh, corn as an example. So again, the same crops that different farmers grow are largely interchangeable. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's monthly reports, in December of 2021, U.S. corn farmers received an average of $5.47 a bushel. A corn farmer who attempted to sell at $6 per bushel would not have found any buyers because they can get it from someone else cheaper. A perfectly competitive firm will not sell below the equilibrium price either. Why should they when they can sell all that they want at the higher price? Um, so we see that. All right, so we'll go ahead and stop here and then we'll go on to the next section.